Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we're looking into something that's really got people talking in Kenya. Yeah, it's being called the State House Church controversy.
Hmm.
Essentially, there's a church being built right at State House, the absolute center of power in Kenya. And what's really fueling the debate, according to our sources, is that it's reportedly being paid for with the president's own money. But, and this is crucial, it's happening while many Kenyans are finding it really hard to afford basic things. That contrast, a new place of worship there right now, it creates some real tension.
It really does. And it highlights just how much optics matter, doesn't it? Especially when leaders mix their personal faith so visibly with state affairs, even if it is personal money. So our goal here is really to explore those implications. It's a deeply symbolic act, no question. And it makes you ask, well, what are the leadership's priorities? What does this signal about the direction Kenya is heading, as some sources put it? We'll try to unpack the different layers for you.
Okay, let's get into that. So the official line is, this is private, personally funded, just a place for worship on the grounds. But why isn't it just being accepted like that? What are the sources telling us?
That's a really good point, because the sources suggest it's not just about who's paying. Everyone knows the president is devout. That's not really the issue. It's the location. State House itself. For many, that building is supposed to represent everyone, the whole nation, secular governance. So putting a specifically Christian church there, well, it blurs lines. One analysis we read talked about how it mixes private belief with public state symbols, regardless of the funding source, you see.
Right. So the location itself carries huge symbolic weight. It's about more than just money changing hands. How are different groups framing their concerns specifically?
Exactly. Well, some sources point to concerns from civil society groups, even some religious figures, actually. They worry about what it means for interfaith harmony in a country as diverse as Kenya. The argument goes, if you put a Christian church right at the seat of national power, even privately funded, doesn't that look like favoritism? On the flip side, you have supporters, naturally. They emphasize the president's constitutional right to worship freely, just like anyone else. They see it as, a personal thing, harmless.
And let's circle back to that point you made earlier, the timing, alongside the struggles many Kenyans face. How are the sources linking the project's timing to the public reaction?
Ah, yes, the timing. That really seems to be amplifying things when people are dealing with a high cost of living, debt worries, job shortages, and that's definitely the situation in Kenya. Any big project like this gets looked at very closely, especially if it seems, well, non-essential or maybe even a bit of a luxury right there at State House. We saw mentions of opinion polls showing that for a lot of people, the priority is economic help, basic services, not necessarily new buildings.
So it's the combination, the church itself plus the timing, plus this feeling that maybe priorities are elsewhere during a tough economic patch.
Precisely. It sends a signal. Even if the money is private, some see it as, well, a missed opportunity. Couldn't that attention, that energy, be focused on more immediate problems? It's about what the act communicates about leadership and its focus when many are struggling. That's the core of the tension, really.
Has this kind of thing happened before? Do we have any historical context from the sources about faith within State House?
That's interesting, too. Some sources did look back. They noted that previous presidents, while often religious themselves, tended to keep a clearer line, perhaps, between their personal worship and the official functions of State House. So this move, some observers see it as quite a shift, maybe setting a new precedent for how faith and public office interact so visibly in Kenya.
Okay, so wrapping this up for you, our listener, we've explored this really delicate situation. It's about balancing a leader's personal faith against how the public sees state priorities, especially when times are tough economically. Intentions and perceptions, they could be very different things, can't they?
They really can. And stepping back, looking at the bigger picture, maybe the question this leaves us with is this. What happens long-term for governance, for public trust, when you have these symbols of personal faith and state power merging so openly, particularly when set against a backdrop of widespread economic hardship? What part of this complex picture stands out most to you?